Hi, Joe here from woollycottage.com, here with a back to basics video, and we'll be talking about combing locks and fleeces and things like that with English wool combs. Now, you can get different types of wool combs. You get your standard versions, which are these ones, okay? These are the double tine combs, right? And these you would use for prepping any type of fibre. That's, I've got it written down here. It's roughly about 12.5 centimeters long, or about 5 inches. You want smaller version combs, which you generally got a single tine, and you're looking at combing staple length fibres of anywhere between 7.5 to 10 centimeters long if you've got that smaller fibre, roughly about 3 or 4 inches long. Okay. You want a particularly long fleece, more than 20 to 25 centimeters, or 8 to 10 inches long. It's challenging even for experts. So you really want, this is sort of length. So this is some haiku alpaca that I've had for a while, and we're going to be converting these. So these are 8 inches roughly. I think that's about the longest one that I've got. Others are about 7 inches long, and we're going to be making what is called a sliver, S-L-I-V-E-R, not a roving. You don't make rovings from your English combs. You make what is called a sliver, and that will give you a woolen or worsted prep. I will get back to you on that one in a minute. I've written it down wrong. I know I have somewhere. You generally want to have a little spray bottle with you, with either a little bit of conditioner with some water in there, or olive oil is generally the ideal solution. I don't actually like the olive oil solution at all. I feel like I've just washed all the prep, all the wool, which you can't use. You really don't want to be using a dirty fleece with this. You want it washed and prepped and dry before you start this process. The reason why you add some spray liquid, spray water, or spray water with conditioner or olive oil is usually the traditional way to do it, is to help calm the static down in your wool. I may have to go and find a bottle in a second just to show you what I mean. It's not something, I don't do this type of prep all the time, but when you get your wool locks, you want to separate them and start laying them out on your table. And with your English combs, you'll get a diz with that. I usually tend to use this one, and you'll want to get yourself quite a thin crochet hook that will go through those. So I'm just going to plonk them to one side. Now, English combs traditionally come, and I've got it clamped down here because you want to clamp them to your table. Now, this is just a small English card frame, and I've got mine. I'll just quickly talk you through it. I've got mine here, and it has a peg in there. Now, I've only got one hole in this top bit. As a general rule, you want to be able to turn your combs around. But I could do that if I had ordered the larger set, but this is just a small standard set. This is from Wing and Wool. I think it cost me about 120 quid for these, and they've been handmade by them. So what I do, and I'll talk you through it, but because my English combs have to stay upright all the time and I can't turn them around, I generally do my combing like that, and then do the opposite ways as I'm coming down. So I'll show you how I do it with these, because they're a little bit different from using the traditional larger combs that are on like a large A-frame type style, and they stand up more out the way, and generally you need a hole in this side so you can turn your combs onto the side, so you can do this downwards motion, which I can't do on mine. So I generally tend to do a sideways motion. So I mean, I'm still making the prep, I'm still getting the waist, and I'm still being able to create what it is that I want to do, which is to align the fibres of the prepared fleece or fibre, to remove any locks, separate the locks and align the fibres, as well as at the same time removing any vegetable matter that may still be stuck in there. And I've got some bits that have that, and it actually does do that process as well. And it also allows you to get out the neps, the leftover bits or the short fibres that are in there that could cause you problems when you're spinning it later on. So you're getting a really pure straight wool with no neps in there, no VM in there, and a piece of fibre preparation that you can spin straight off with. Okay, so what you want to do is get your fleece, and you want to go through it and separate your locks. I'll pop you down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is what I'm working with, this piece here. Move that out of the way. And I'm just going to lay out my locks, cut ends to tips down here. I'll just pull them apart gently and align them along my table, just so this is part of my prep. This is what I need to do, because we'll be adding them to the combs as we go along, and we need to know that we're not going to be stopping every 2 minutes to separate the clump. Let me move that out of the way. Separate the clump of fleece, because, well, it's just time consuming. At the same time as pulling them apart, you're actually opening up the ends, okay? And when you're doing the combing, the combing with the English combs, the tips of them will open up the tips, so they'll be opened up, and the veg matter that's in there will loosen as you're going along. So you'll find some pieces will fall out, but some are probably still stuck in the locks. But as the process goes on, all the dusty particles and the VM, so there's some bits in there, okay, they will all fall out as you do this process, and then they'll all start to fall out again when you go on to the second process. Okay, so you don't want to overload your combs anyway, but I'm just going to put a nice little collection of my locks here. And once you've gone through this fill process, you can actually card the slither later on down the line and make it into a bat. It just helps that fill process, because you don't want to be putting fibres like these. They're a little bit tough to work with to start with, because all they'll do is pull on the tines on your drum carder. Pull the tines on your drum carder, which makes your work even harder, and you're damaging your work equipment as well. So I'm just going to split some more, try and get rid of all of this swamp. There we go. Just keep doing this process. In a second I'll move the angle around a bit so you can see the next process. There we go, nearly through this batch here. And it doesn't take long to do. It takes about half an hour, and you just want to repeat your method. Okay, so this is my setup. I have to do it in the corner because these clamps. So you want to get, if you've got a small one like mine, or even if you've got a larger one, you want to use your clamps and make sure it's secure on the table, because it will move. Okay, so I use these D clamps, these iron ones that just twist on and off. Okay, so what you want to do next, the next process will be lashing on. So you get your locks, okay, and you want to just place them over your combs. You don't want the tips of them too far out. You want to be able to, the fibres to grip into place, because you're going to be processing. This is the processing part. So I put them there, and I have roughly about 2/3 of the fibre, or about a quarter on the back, sticking out the back of my tines, the needles. Okay, so there seems to be 2 sets of locks in that one, so I'll separate that one again, and then just gently pull them on the top. Just do them one at a time. You can feel the slight tug as they've attached themselves up onto your tines. And you just keep repeating this process until you fill up your combs. I don't put too much on in one go. But roughly about 2/3 of your combs is what you want to fill. Now, as I said, my combs don't move to the side, which is traditionally you would want them to turn to one side, because you have to do a rotation method where you swing your arm down when the combs are like that. You want to swing it so it comes down on itself. But I don't have the opportunity to turn my combs in the opposite in a different direction. They've got to be pointing up because of the way that the holes are in the bar holding it in place. So I've had to come up with an alternative method. Right, so I'll just put that one on it, that one there, lock that in place. So this process is called lashing. There we go. So I'm quite happy with the amount that I've got on there at the moment. That one's a bit loose. I don't want to phase myself with a lot of fibre on there, especially if you're just starting out. So it's roughly about half of what I've already prepped. So what you want to do, right, so I'm going to lift it up a little bit so you can see. Right, so this part now is called the chopping motion. Now, my tines are facing upwards, but I do this motion first just to get all these fibres get going. Now, while it's all sat here in the prep and you've got all your locks pulled apart, this is the moment you want to give it a quick zhuzh of spray with a bit of, just literally a tiny dash of olive oil in a bottle of spray water, or a little bit of conditioner, hair conditioner will work fine, in a spray bottle of water as well. And just give them a quick spray over it and do that. I'm not doing that process. I should do, but I'm not going to because I don't have a spray bottle empty at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to go on with the method for it and then you can see how it goes. So you want to bring down in a swinging and down, okay? So this is called the chop. So I'm chopping down on my fibres. Oh, nearly pulling myself off my feet. Chop down and on the fibres. I'm just going to make sure that they'll just pull out really nicely if you've laid them in really well. There we go. And start going in a little bit further, closer to the cards now, because they've come down a lot more. See, this is the static that you want to try and avoid, hence you want to use a little bit of olive oil and a bottle of so you get this little troll effect, because otherwise your fibres just keep catching on, and that's the whole point of what you want to avoid. 1 second, there we go. You see the static there, it's starting to build up. Unfortunately, this was really annoying, which I sometimes now regretting doing this. It's all right when I'm doing it myself for me, but when I'm doing it as a demo, it doesn't look great at all. So I just keep pulling those back on my cards, on my combs. Push that back a bit. And I just want to align these fibres. Now, you'll always be left with bits left on the end of it. That's the whole point of why you're doing it. But what I tend to do is just put these to one side in a pile. Just leave it there for now. And that's what I've got on my card. Sorry, on my combs, not my cards, on my combs. Okay. Now, if this was run the other way, which is not for me, but if it was turned so it's facing that direction, then I would next go down in a, well, I'd come across in a swinging motion. But I can't do that. I can't turn my combs around. So what I have to do is turn the comb in my hand, instead of going down like that, turn my comb round, so you can see that. And then I need to come down on the cards like this. 1 second, that was a bit too, there we go. And I'm going to come down there we go. Takes a few minutes for you to get your rhythm. You don't want to go in too far with the fibres over the back of the tines. You want to loosen this up just a little bit every so often, so that you end up with instead of them all being squashed up there, you want to just loosen them up a little bit. And then I'll turn my comb around and I'll come in from this side. And I'll do the same again and twist it around. Dog, come on, move out the way. Why is there always a dog when there's a sharp implement around? You want to keep your hands well away from this as well, because these tines are sharp. So I've got some VM still hiding inside there, and that should come out in a minute. But I'm quite happy with the process I've got to now. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to put it to one side over there, and we'll sort that out in a minute. So that's that combed lovely. I put it through 4 passes. Okay, I'm quite happy doing it 4 times, so I've already done it twice. So now I'm going to come in with this swinging action, because that's really what I want to be doing. And I'm going to just jiggle them up a little bit so they're not all cramped down the bottom, and it'll help give way for me to get into the fibres. So I'm doing my swinging motion. I'm going to turn it around again. Just bend that back a bit. And just lift them up a little so they sort of end up with a bit more gap in them. There's more air getting into it and separating the locks out so that I can actually comb them. And you're not pulling at yourself, you're pulling away from yourself, okay? So when you swing, you're pulling away. I'll turn that around, push that back a bit. There we go. Starting to clear this off now, it's nearly done. And I'll take this bit off. Okay, so there's bits of VM still in there, and there's the shorter cuts as well. That's what's all in that. And then I'm going to do one more pass through the comb, and then I'm going to get my diz and I'm going to diz this off. So I'm going to leave my combs like that, and I'm going to do the chopping method this time. You can, it's moving a lot better. I'm coming down to bottom, down to bottom, down to bottom, down to bottom. I'm going to turn my combs around a little bit so I can get these bits of remnants to the side, because it's looking a little bit, the angle's going down. So I'll just turn that down to bottom, down to bottom, down to bottom, down to bottom. So you're coming up and swinging down. Don't worry, I'll do it again, because these remnants I like to pass back through again, just in case I've missed any, because sometimes you feel like you've got loads and loads and loads. So there you go. This is where I could definitely do with the spray now when I do this dizzing section. So I'm just going to lift these up again. They look all lovely and aligned in comparison to what they look like. You've now got this really lovely comb, and I'll bring you over and you can have a look. So can you see now, you've got this lovely alignment of fibres all going in the same direction. You've got lovely fibres. There's no VM in there now at all. All the locks have been taken out, and these are your tip ends, and this is the bit that we're going to prep in a minute. So you want to gather it. If you want to give it a spray now, give it a spray now, and then do your little troll's hair. Excuse my mess down that corner. I do apologise. Come on this way. Yeah, so you want to get into this troll hair, and then you want to go and grab your diz or whatever implement you're using to do this next process. Okay, so I'm going to grab my little diz, make sure it's right next to me. I'm going to get my troll hair, and I'm just going to feed this through. I'm going to do it through my largest hole here, and I'm just going to hoop it with my little crochet hook and drag it through my diz on the other side. Okay, and then from that point we want to now push forward a little bit and then pull back. Can you see me bringing that in? And I'm going to push that back in and pull out, push that back in and pull out, push that back in and pull it out, and you'll just go at this lovely angle. You don't want to pull it too much, just do it ever so gently. If it does pull off and you've pulled a little bit too heavy-handed, then just start again, okay? It's not a problem. It's not ruined. You can still spin with it. But at this moment, you want to just concentrate on the motion of drafting, pushing back, drafting, pushing back, and drafting, pushing back, and all these fibres will collate inside. Push back. I'm literally pulling back, I would say about 2 inches, drafting out 2 inches or about 1.5 inches, pushing my diz back, pulling about 2 inches, and then drafting out, and then doing again, and then start to move my angle so I catch all these fibres that are going a bit stray. Now you can, as I say, you can use the spray oil and everything else. I don't like spinning my wool with the oil in it or the lanolin in it, but that's my preference. I understand it's required to help with the static, but I feel that for myself, if as long as I don't pile up my combs with lots of fibre and just keep an eye on the comb that I'm doing all the motion with, then I can keep a really good healthy check on that. But traditionally you should really be using a spray bottle with some sort of softener in there to work with. So I'm just going to pull those fibres over, and I'll show you from the other angle in a minute when I redo the waist we've took off, because I like to just give it another go. Keep going, and I've got a massive pile of sliver down here. And you can see it coming slowly off the back of the tines. And keep doing that. There we go. So that's what I've got left. I'm going to put that over there on that cloud, and then just wrap this around my hand. And there we have a nice slither of roving, sorry, my bad, of Haiku alpaca. A nice slither that you can spin straight from. You'll get a really lovely spin from that straight onto your wheel. Okay, so I'm going to come back in and I'll do the actual latching on from this side so you can see what it looks like from behind with this cloud that I've got left over. There's not a lot left, but what you can see is there's a piece of vegetable out there, and then you've got these short curls. See how tiny that is? So it's separated those and the VM from the actual really lovely part of that fibre. But I'm going to give this another quick go through because I've still got some fibres that are really quite long. So I want to give this another go, and I'm just going to ever so slightly stretch it out, find out where those ends, the cut ends are from the fibre original, and I'm going to just plop them on the back. And I'm just going to do the same thing as what I did to start with, but these fibres are obviously, I'm not going to get as much sliver from this as what I did with the original piece, but it's giving it, it's making sure that I don't have too much waste. There's a really good neppy bit. See that little cluster, lots of tiny pieces in there? That's a nep. Now that's not to say that you can't spin with the cloud exactly how it is here. You can do, but you'll end up with a nappy wool. But if that's what you're looking for and you want to knit a nice tweedy style wool, then perfect, go for it. Or you can use off your waste ends and needle felt them into dryer balls. That's another thing you can do. Or give them to the birds. It's springtime now. Birds will be looking for nesting material. I've given up using wool in my hanging baskets because the little swines come and pinch it all, and then my plants are left with nothing to keep the soil in the baskets. So we're nearly done here. This is definitely going to be a lot shorter fibre and it'll be a lot quicker prep, but you'll get the gist of what it is that I'm doing in the back. And I'm barely touching the fibres. That's what you've got behind there, roughly about an inch where it works out looking like. You just want to be able to catch those fibres onto the tines. There we go. Okay, so there we've got that fibre now all ready for me to come in with my other comb and do this. All right, so I'm going to do the chop first, which is straight down. Okay, straight down, come in at the ends and work your way into the fibre that are on your other combs. Okay, and the closer you get, the more work it is. You don't want it, when you first do your combs and you come into the fibre, you don't want to go too close as far as I'm concerned, because it's all like raw fibre, like with these locks when you're doing it, which I'll do again, I'll do quickly again, but I feel that if I come in from the tips about an inch in, then it means that I can separate from the tips and work my way into the fibre. Okay, down, down, pull that back, down, down, and chop, down, chop down, chop down, I'm just going to lift these up a little bit, see if I can get some more off. Give them a bit of a gap in between. Can you see what I'm doing there? I'm lifting this up because you can see how compacted it is. So I've still got a couple of long lengths on there and I just want to get to those. There we go. And I think that's all I'm going to get from that. Let's give it one more try. Lift up those fibres. Right, I think that's all I'm going to get from that. that can get put to one side. And can you see in there, there's bits of neps and everything and all the really short ends in there as well. That's it. I'm not going to get any more from that. I will literally just fold that over and then needle felt that into a ball, and then just, there you go, there's the beginning of felter ball. So you can just keep adding to that as you go along. So now I'm going to open up my combs with my fibre on it, just so there's a bit more movement and motion and they're not all compacted together. And I'm going to do my downward motion again, the chop, and then twist my comb around and coming from this angle. And I would say that's all I'm going to really get from that. Okay, so again, take that off. Look at those nippy bits. There's dirty pieces in there as well. There's VM still in there, and wrap that on there. So next I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the swing. So I'm going to come in and swing my comb. I'm just going to point that out, and I'm going to come in the opposite direction now. Swing my comb, and lift that up a bit more. Try and get these last remnants, and that's the last of those. And then last but not least, come down for one more chop, but I'm going to keep my combs like that way, and start loading up the back. See, there's a nappy bit there, just come off. Turn my comb around. Ooh. There we go. That's about as much as I'm going to get off there. Okay, right, so I'll swing you around so you can see how I'm working the diz. There's not a lot here, but you'll get the idea of what it is that I'm doing. Okay, so get my diz. You can use anything for your diz. You can use a washer, a rubber washer from plumbing, like your other half's toolbox, all right, your toolbox. You can use an old knot, as long as it's got a hole in it, in different hole sizes. Some people use shells they're found on the beach. You can use all sorts, as long as it's got a hole in it. Don't use a piece of cardboard, it's going to be quite sturdy. So I'm going to go into the smaller hole size. And I'm just going to wrap my hook around that and pull that through. Okay, and then from this point, see that's through there now. I'm going to now draft my fibre and push my diz up, and then draft my fibre just that much, literally that's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then push my diz up again, and then come around at a different angle where the fibres all start to move, and there we can push that up. Oh, come on, you'll feel a little bit of it wants to not do anything, but just move the angle of your fibre if that's the case on your next return. And there you go. There we go. There we have it. So we've got some little bits of nappy bits on there. See those little white dots in there? That's your nappy bit, so you want rid of that. Now that's what I've been left waist-wise, which is probably just under half of the fibre that's been prepped. And there we go, one little slither of fibre. So I'll quickly repeat that again. So it's a latching on, a chopping and a swinging, and then you pull off with your diz a sliver of wool, S-L-I-V-E-R. And this preparation is so that you can get your wool locks from your fleeces that you washed and you've dried, and you place them on, latch them onto your combs like that. And with this process, it means that you can prepare your wool, align it, remove the VM, open up the tips and the ends, and be able to prepare a sliver of fibre ready for spinning in a worsted, a worsted yarn. Okay, so it's all aligned, whereas if you were spinning a woolen yarn, the fibres are all crisscrossing against it, across each other, and it traps in air. Whereas with a worsted wool, you want a worsted wool so you can have nice aligned fibres, and it ends up more compacted in the sense. And it can, with some fibres, you end up with a really lovely drape if you spin in that manner. There we go. So we'll carry on doing this. I think when I come back properly in May, for the next lot of back to basics videos, I won't be doing any over the month of April, but there are some videos that they're ready for premiering over the next couple of weeks. I've got one more video for back to basics to do, and that'll be maintenance of your spinning wheel, which I plan to do because my spinning wheel needs sorted before I go away in April. So yeah, there we go. So I think in May we might talk a bit more about worsted wool and spinning wool, and woolen wool and spinning the wool. And then you can maybe start to understand where the terminologies are coming in from. And we'll get into a little bit more detail as well. Terminologies I don't tend to use. So I'm just going to come down with my combs. And I don't want to come into, see how I've gone in quite far there? I don't want to. I want to aim for the tips of the fibre, if I can. Now I'm doing this chopping method, but it's really quite hard when your combs are being really naughty. Right, I'm getting too big a locks coming off. I'm coming back in and down. Back in and down. 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 There we go. Now I'm just going to lift up these a little bit more, pull back my fibre a bit, and down, and down, chop down, chop down, oh, chop down. I think that's about it on that one, so we'll put this one to one side, and then we'll come back in with my combs. I'm going to open them up, okay, and I'm going to do another chop motion because that's really all I can really do with these, with mine. Down, no sec, down, and again keep going down. I'm going to turn my combs around so they're facing you now. I'm getting the exact same method as I would do if I was able to move the static comb around, but sometimes with equipment you have to make do with what you've got and do it with the best you can with the technique that you find. So there we go, that is that waist cloud there. You see how curly that is? Okay, so now I'm going to do my swing, and I've still got a stray piece of lock here. So I'm going to do my swing now, and I'm going to come in. I'm going to try and lift that up and come in from the side. I'm going to try and catch that lock. There we go, it's finally got caught. You want to make sure that your fibres are well out the way so they don't get tangled up. And I'm going to come back in from this way, turn my combs back around on myself towards you. Just lift them up a little bit. Just let them be a bit more so they're not compacted. And then I'm going to swing away towards the door. One more time. Let's see if I can get any more off. That'll do. Take that piece off, and then again come in with the chop, but do my combs so they're facing that way. If I did them down that way this time round, all I'm going to end up doing is compacting the fibres, and really I want them to start leaving the comb now. So I'm coming in this way so I can keep this packing here more even, a bit more evenly distributed, which means that when I'm going through this final comb through, this final pass, it'll help me get most of the fibres off there. See, there's not much of that left over now. Okay, so there we are at the final pass, and again we're going to get our diz. I'm going to go through my big hole here because there's quite a lot of fibre on there, and I'm really not in the mood for fighting with it, so I'm just going to pull that through with my tiny crochet hook and pull and draft. I'm drafting, I'm just using the angle of the fibre to help me draft out these fibres. Use the diz to control the fibres coming out, because you don't want too much. And if you start to feel it resist, like now, start to move your fibres back round. There we go, nearly there. I know I've gone quiet, I'm concentrating ladies, I'm concentrating. Because it's starting to have a bit of resistance with me now. I could have maybe put it through as another pass if I felt like it was probably needed. But I'm quite happy with it, how it's drafting out now. But we're getting there. Just the last of it now. There we go. That's quite happy with that. It could have maybe have done with another pass through, but that's all right. It'll spin up lovely regardless. And there we go. One more sliver. So there we go. My demonstration of using some English combs. I hope that you found that useful. It's not a piece of equipment that I use that often. Yeah, I've only ever used this device a couple of times myself. It's not a preparation that I use or get a chance to use that often. But yeah, it's definitely a good way if you've got fibres that are long or covered in VAM. As I say, these double ones, you're looking at longer fibres, a longer staple length. They're about up to 12 centimetres or 12.5 centimetres. Shorter staple lengths, you're looking at about 7.5 to 10 that you can process with a single tines on the English combs. You can use hand carders, but again, you're going to be looking, if you don't want to be using overly long fibres on those. I will quote a reference. There is, if you want to, where we go, if you've got particularly long fibres that are more than 20 to 25 centimetres long or 8 to 10 inches, okay, it can be quite challenging even for experts. But there's a guy called Peter Thiel, an author on wool combing for hand spinners, warns against combing extra long wools. These are best suited to dog combs or lock spinning. So things like Teeswater or Wensleydale or anything like that have got extra long first cut clips locks, which I usually sell on my website, but I haven't ordered any for a while. Those sort of locks, you want to be using them for doing your art spinning, or open up the ends and spin them straight on to your spinning wheel as a yarn. They're really hard to prepare. They're a nightmare. Don't ever put them on your drum carder because you'll never get them off. I've been there, done that, bought that t-shirt. You don't want to experience that hell ever. So yeah, so for fibres like I'm trying to think of your breeds comb. I can't think of anything that's at that sort of length. Your Shetlands, your Cheviots, the Dorsets, not Lincoln long wool, maybe your Layenne wools, Blue-faced Leicester, you get a decent length on those. They definitely could do with some combing before you put them through your drum carder. But once it's got to this process, you can either spin it straight as it is or feed it through your drum carder and blend it with whatever fibres that you want to use. Okay, so as I say, I hope you found this useful. The next video I'll be filming it up over the next week or so, and that will be maintenance of your spinning wheel. I've got a new drive band. I need to give my spinning wheel a really good clean, so I'll be going through the process of how I do that, what you should do and what you shouldn't really do, what type of things to use for cleaning it with. So like beeswax you can use for maintaining it. You can use a little bit of olive oil. You'll need a file with some round, some cotton wool buds, wet cloth, soapy water. So yeah, so that's what we'll be doing on the next video. So I'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks, and then she's going to get a bit of a facelift and a re-waxing as well. Because I need her to take with me to the Woolly Wool gathering, which I'll be attending up in Edinburgh on Friday the 26th and the 27th of April. If you're going to, give me a shout and I will send you up a flyer or drop you a picture of the Woolly Gathering logo thing that us vendors have been sent. And if you're attending that and have got yourself a ticket, I'll drop the links in the description below. But if you go to woollygoodgathering.co.uk, you should be able to find them online. If not, I will find the link and I'll put it below. You can go and pay, order your ticket. I think it's £10 per entrance. It's a summer hall in Edinburgh City Centre, just down from the Waverley train station. On the Friday it's from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 in the evening, and then on Saturday it's from 10 till 4. So I'll be there. There'll be lots of others there, a lot of Scottish vendors. The Edinburgh Weavers, Spinners and Dyers Guild will be there doing a demonstration as well. There's loads of workshops going on, so you can book. I think there's still a couple of workshops still available, but if you can always find the link over on their Instagram, which is Woolly Good Edinburgh. You could be able to find them. If you can't find them, give me a shout and I will give you the links to these places to go and find out, book your tickets and arrange workshops. There's lots of different things going on. So yeah, so anyway, my extra was taking a lot longer than it was was planned. So I'm off. Take care of yourselves and I will speak to you soon. No live chat for the rest of this month. There's a couple of reasons behind that, but I'll see you in April. I'll pop over in April and I'll get a chat with you then. Take care of yourselves. Speak to you soon. Bye for now. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.